are at high school. I'm going to go ahead and go over chapter 32 with you real quick. Obviously, you'll need to read through each lesson in chapter 32 and fill out the chapter questions as well as the quiz. But I just kind of want to explain, again, what you want to be prepared for, what this chapter is about, explain a couple of concepts. So chapter 32 is going to be about something called totalitarianism. That's a really big word, and if you want right now, you can pause the video, you can look it up, but we will be talking about the definition here in just a minute. So some of the first thoughts, scholar by the name of Hannah Arendt writes, totalitarianism is never content to rule by external means, namely though the state and machinery of violence, thanks to its peculiar ideology and the role assigned to it in this apparatus of coercion, this is a really hard word to say. Totalitarianism has discovered a means of dominating and terrorizing humans from within. So, simplified, a totalitarian government seeks to control all economic and political matters, but the attitudes, values, and beliefs of its population as well. The citizen's duty to the state becomes the primary concern of the community, and the goal of the state is the replacement of the existing society with a utopian society. Now, utopian societies look wonderful on paper, but the problem is humans have problems. And so you're not going to have a perfect society where everyone just lives in harmony with each other because you have different people with different problems, and they get mad at each other, and people do bad things, and it messes it up. So totalitarian governments seek to control basically everything. The money, the politics, the attitudes, values, everything, for the sake of trying to have a government that is so harmonious that everyone just lives in peace. An example of a utopian society would be the lost city of Atlantis, which, some people believe it was real, some people believe that it's myth. Doesn't really matter. What matters is the way that it's portrayed in a lot of media now is like this underwater utopian society where they have super advanced technology and everyone is happy and there's never any crime and everyone doesn't, like, that's a utopian society. And again, on paper, governments think, well, if we can just control everything, we can have an outcome where that's a society. But again, humans are imperfect, and therefore you cannot have a perfect society made up of imperfect humans. In chapter learning objectives, in chapter 32, we will further examine World War I and its aftermath. Next, we will examine why this totalitarian regime emerged in Europe and the Far East. Finally, we will consider the church's responsibility to totalitarianism. As a result of this chapter, you should be able to do 6 different things. You need to be able to discuss what new problems emerged after World War I. You need to examine why totalitarian regimes emerged after World War I. Evaluate why this type of government arose in Germany but not in England. Analyze why Germany was unanimously supported as an obvious anti-Semite like Adolf Hitler. Evaluate why the United States is such a serious threat to Japan, and discuss how totalitarian regimes relate to the church. So chapter 1 is going to be England on the brink, talking about at the end of the war, how England responded, a couple of the different main events that happened with England, their relationship with France, Germany, even Russia will be several of the things you'll read about in this chapter. And then this will be the first question, what new problems emerged in England after World War I. Chapter 2 is talking about totalitarianism in Italy. And then you'll need to be able to explain why were totalitarianism regimes so popular after World War I. Lesson 3 would be English views of Hitler and Stalin. You also have to remember this, though. There's 2 sides to every story. Well, there's more than 2 sides to a lot of stories. This is going to show English views of Hitler and Stalin, which obviously are going to be very different from Russian views or from German views or from French views. And so it's important that you understand that this is the perspective that England had. Obviously, many people in America have a certain perspective and view of Hitler and Stalin. It's just important to understand that maybe there are some facts there that you might not be aware of. And so anytime you get someone's viewpoint of a story, try and take a step back and evaluate everything that's happening, okay? So that would be chapter 3. Information really about Stalin and Hitler. And then in lesson 4, talking about Japan after World War I and why America was such a threat to World War I, and also why Japan was a threat to America. And obviously we saw some of that fallout in World War II. The relations between Japan and America were not very good. And so a little bit of the information that kind of leads up to that kind of gives you a little bit more context. So you'll need to read through these 4 lessons. And then the question, why was Japan such a serious threat to England? So you need to read through these 4 questions, 4 lessons, fill out the chapter questions, and then fill out your chapter quiz as well, which again is going to be an email that I sent out a couple weeks ago. So let me know if you have any questions or concerns or something's not making sense. You know how to reach me, and I'm happy to help.